they're not as scared about the bombs as they're scared about dying hungry.
Dear friends, the other day I mentioned a friend that came over 5 minutes before I was going to record and gave him an update on what was happening in Ukraine because he is from Ukraine himself. So I took it upon myself today to say, no, hey, Jan, do you have a few minutes to have a little discussion? So you guys can put a face also to a story that I mentioned a week earlier. So here we are right now with Jan. Yep, I butchered your last name. Is Skripkar?
Skripkar. Jan Skripkar.
Skripkar. Thanks. And from what town are you in Ukraine?
I'm from Chernivtsi.
Okay.
It's West Ukraine.
And the interesting thing I told you today, so guys, I saw him today again, and I mentioned to him that the people in Italy, they've been going back and forth with big trucks, semi-trucks and vans. They're going right to his town, and they're from there. Actually, they go all the way into Kiev as well. How far are you from Kiev, basically, that town?
I'd say about 350 miles.
Okay, all right. Now I'd say, how far are you from that town? He's in the U.S. right now. That's why I saw him the other day. Physically, he was here, but originally he's from that town, and he is in touch with people there. And his cousin is actually a pastor of a church in that town. And so today we were talking, and just mention what you told me today. That's one of the stories.
Yeah, my cousin is a pastor in one of the churches in Kiev region. Mm-hmm. And actually he's a pastor in the church where the city where the first bombing started on February 24th.
Oh, wow.
And they were able to move to this small town outside of Kiev, where is a Seventh-day Adventist university, a small campus of university campus.
Okay.
That morning on February 24th, they were evacuating everyone from there, and he sent his wife and kids, and he remained at that campus himself, his son, 21-year-old son, and his son-in-law. So they were left behind. And soon after that, they start sheltering people who are hiding from bombs and artillery and from just being shootings around. So they accumulated about 200 people the day before yesterday. They had it around there, and they were trying to feed them, encourage them with a word of God, with prayers. And there was around 200 people in that area. And today they were the green corridors, or the evacuation corridors, were allow people, Russian soldiers allowed them to move to safety. So, but the problem,
when you say moving to safety, do they move south? Where do they move to?
Well, they were, per my understanding, they were moving them southwest. Yeah, southwest. But because of the roads are bad, I know that bus with a woman and children got lost because the roads were bombed, and there's Ukrainians took off all the signs, as I remember correctly. I saw on the news with the road signs, and there is no navigation at this point over the Ukraine as well.
Now, when you're saying news, Jan, you're watching the local news in Ukraine, so you're listening.
Yes, I'm watching Ukrainian news in Ukrainian language, and it is terrifying me because I'm here in safety, and they're over there suffering. So the problem happened when a Russian soldier ordered all the men not to board the bus, but to walk. And it's over 10 kilometers to walk to the, well, I would say relative safety. So the buses departed and they started walking. And as I know, they were shot at by somebody opened fire. We were.
So the women and children are in the bus going to safety. The men are walking, and the Russian soldiers are shooting them.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And I'll try to. I have this picture of the people were in that shelter. This is.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm.
And after we later that day, I mean about 8 p.m. Today, which is 1 or 2 o'clock this time, I received a message that they were in safety. And
the women and children.
Women and children, and my cousin with a male group. They escaped. I'm not. I wouldn't claim nobody died, but so many people died today in Ukraine. So there's no telling.
I was in a prayer Zoom 2 days ago with different people from the US and from overseas, and even from Ukraine. And it was sad to see and to hear, we saw some short footages, but to hear some of the story too. I heard a story of this one kid, 11 years old, the parents were killed, and he was going around with the phone number and address on his hand and walked 400 kilometers. 400 kilometers is roughly 250 miles, toward the Romanian border. And apparently the address was the Romanian address, 11 years old, just going like that. Gets me. Then over here we have the president say, oh, we got to defend freedom. So when there is a price to be paid, and I just don't understand. I don't want to get into politics because it makes me angry, but I look at Italy and the price of gas in Italy has always been high, right? So we're paying a euro 60 per liter. It went from 160 to 192. 20% increase. That's it. And they depend heavily on Russian oil. Last year, we burned an average of about 600,000 barrels per day. And that was 8%. 8% of our consumption comes from Russia. Only 8%. And all of a sudden, I came 2 years ago and I was paying $1.87, $1.89 for diesel. I got fuel yesterday and was $4.79. That is 155% increment. That's 2.5 times what I was paying before. So you explain that to me. How in the world can Italy just go up 20% when they depend heavily on it, and we go up 155%? I mean, what kind of dealing is behind the door? I mean, again, I don't want to get political, but I was talking to this morning actually to a Navy officer. He has been involved in Afghanistan with getting people out still. And then he shifted over to Ukraine. So I connected him to a couple of groups because he's in very close contact with the prime minister in Romania, actually. And they want to set up tents. So I said, okay, work with these churches to do it, which is great. But he was telling me this is Obama's third presidency. And there were a lot of deals that were negotiated way back that now are coming into play. Now, that's his take. I don't know what kind of intel he has, but I don't know. I mean, I cannot explain why are we to suffer so much. I mean, 51% of our gas comes from Canada. We get it from Mexico as well. We get it from Saudi Arabia. So I don't understand how 8% can impact us 2.5 times. But and maybe that is in line with, I've seen footage of Italian newscaster. It was really comical. I wish I could, maybe I'll put a clip in there. You see a guy that is fully protected with the jackets and the helmet, and all of a sudden he starts yelling, watch out, they're bombing, come over here to the cameraman. And he's going from kind of the center of the street against the wall in a corner, say, oh, over here we're protected. He's not protected, he's still out in the open, in the corner. And you see 20 meters away, 20 yards away, you see a line of people going to the ATM, just kind of nonchalantly waiting in line to go. And the guy is freaking out. Or another lady, helmet on, full on gear, inside of a house, and they're shooting her, and there is a window, and you see the people outside. Same thing. She's panicking. And you see an old lady. She might have been 80 years old with 2 grocery bags, just walking across the street with her grocery. And she's panicking inside of the house. Why are we seeing that? Why are we seeing a rehash of the war in Crimea? Why are we seeing footage of even other wars? Why this fear factor? What do you think?
It's always, for me, it was always strange how Western society is fearful. A couple of years ago, my wife was traveling to Portugal, and she is a United States citizen right now. And the prep they were doing for this trip was a little bit interesting because they were freaked out that they're going to be taken away, and they would be stolen, they would be robbed in Portugal. And it's not true. I mean, it's as safe as it's safe here,
Yeah.
So another point I want to add, again, a lot of older people, as you mentioned, the old lady was going by with a grocery. Older people who went through World War II,
they're used to it.
Used to it. They're not as scared about the bombs as they're scared about dying hungry.
That's right.
Maybe that's a stretch, an exaggeration, but it's still.
That's a very good point, and that's why maybe I'm so raw. That this gets to me is because my father fought in World War II, and he was under Mussolini, during that time, obviously, and then Mussolini and Hitler had fallen out, so he fought a campaign in Greece first, and then he fought in Albania, and then when the two of them fell apart, the Nazi or the German actually took him to prison camp in Germany, and he was in prison camp for 2 years. He was an opera singer, so what kept him alive was actually the German doing parties and inviting him to sing. Mm-hmm. And when everything was over, they would give him the leftover. But he went from, he was a 6'1". He went from 205, 210 pounds all the way down to just about 100 pounds. He was skin and bones when he came home. And out of his platoon, I think it was about 180 of them, only 8 came back. So that's tragedy. And then his sister is still alive. She's 96. And some of the stories that she told me are unbelievable. So they're definitely resilient. It's a different breed. Those guys have been through a lot.
So apparently right now, a lot of Ukrainian people go through the same, go through a lot. And that's probably going to create some resiliency there.
Yes. What about the church? Tell me a little bit about the church. How is the church reacting? Do they see a lot of help coming in, pouring in? Do they feel loved by the community worldwide?
So, of course, that campus, it's a church campus, church university. So I know his wife back in the west of, she got evacuated to west of Ukraine, and they're putting food together. They're sending buses of food to those people. It's hard to get to there because it was a lot of border controls, a lot of control posts, a lot of different, this is Russian, this is Ukrainians, this is
so are the Russians stopping the aid that is getting in or no?
I've heard accounts that they're hungry themselves.
Okay.
They're not fed well. They're not treated well as well by a Russian army. So I think that all the atrocities of war are present there, so there is no accountability for nothing at this point.
But the Christian community, they do feel supported.
Yes. So I can show you another picture where they are giving out tea, biscuits at people on the border, helping out. And
that seems strange, I mean, it's a war and you're having tea and
well, biscuits, let's call it food, because you want to warm up people. You know, you have
Yeah.
to give them some hot tea,
Yeah.
and somebody, you know, whatever they can do. There's Ukraine is not a wealthy country by
Yeah.
no means. So
well, I guess again, these Italian friends are doing a lot of work. I just found out from another friend of mine in Spain. He has a big ministry. He is sending a lot of trucks over there as well. So there is a lot of practical application, and that's the beauty of it. When the gospel puts feet on.
yes, I have family in Italy as well, and Varese, I was telling you about that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I talked to it's another cousin. He's told me that they're putting humanitarian aid together in their church to send it to Ukraine. So yeah, there's a lot of people who are moved by this tragedy, and they work helping others.
Yeah. And I don't know, for some reason, I'm thinking of, you know, it is a tragedy. I don't want to minimize it in any ways, but in comparison to a bigger tragedy of those, I mean, yes, you can feed them, you can give them clothing, you can give them support, which is fine. But what about the ones that are in other countries that are fed, that are dressed, but they're lacking a relationship with Christ? I mean, that is the worst devastation ever. And I hope that people, maybe some of the people that are listening to this, they may not have a relationship with Christ. So I implore you, talk to some friends that know what it means to actually surrender to a savior, because we're talking about eternity. These tents, they're going to go, you know, might not be tomorrow, might not be 10 years, it might be 40 years from now, but they're going to be gone. And then it's the real thing, eternity. And so my wish is, again, if one is not there yet, maybe look back at some of the other videos or talk to your friends. So thank you, Jan, for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for listening. If it is helpful, again, share it with your social community. Thank you very much, and I'll catch you next week. Ciao.